Welcome, fellow travelers into the dark, to HauntCast Echoes. I'm Alex, and tonight we journey deep, not into the bustling cities or the quiet suburban streets, but into the very heart of the wild. To a place where the trees themselves seem to hold ancient secrets. A place known only as the Whispering Hollow. Our story begins with a man named Elias Thorne, a cartographer accustomed to the solitude of maps and the quiet company of mountains. He sought ultimate isolation, a place untouched, untamed. He found it. Or so he thought, nestled deep within the Appalachian wilderness. Elias envisioned a quiet life, days spent charting forgotten trails, evenings by a crackling fire, the only sounds the wind and wildlife. He built a small cabin, rudimentary but sturdy, on the edge of a deep, shadowed ravine that local trappers had long avoided. They called it the Hollow. Even then, Elias noticed a strange quiet in that particular valley. Not the peace of nature, but an absence, a silence that felt deliberate. The birds didn't sing as often there. The wind, when it blew through the hollow, didn't whistle. It seemed to sigh. He dismissed it, of course. A trick of the mind. The solitude was finally getting to him. He was a man of science, of logic. He would find patterns, not phantoms. But the hollow had its own patterns, its own logic, and it was waiting. Elias settled into his routine. Weeks turned into months. The quiet was profound, too profound. He started noticing little things, small stones carefully stacked on his porch that weren't there moments before. The faint scent of damp earth and something old when there was no rain. He'd wake in the dead of night, not from a dream, but from an undeniable sensation of being watched. The air in his cabin would grow heavy, cold, not the chill of the mountain air, but an unnatural, oppressive cold that made his skin prickle. Then came the whispers, faint at first, carried on the wind that never truly whistled, but sighed. It sounded like voices, indistinct, like a conversation just beyond the edge of comprehension. He would strain, listen. Nothing concrete, just the phantom murmur of words that were almost, but not quite, there. The whispers grew, and they began to call his name, not clearly, not directly, more like his name being woven into the fabric of the wind's sigh. Eli, Ias. A long, drawn-out sound, stretching the syllables, dragging them from the very depths of the ravine.
Elias's scientific mind
began to crack. Sleep offered no respite. The whispers permeated his dreams, pulling him towards the ravine. The very ground seemed to hum with an insidious energy. He felt compelled to explore the hollow's depths, despite an overwhelming sense of dread. He descended. The air grew colder, heavier, smelling strongly of damp earth and something else, something acrid, metallic. The whispers were no longer distant. They were all around him, seeming to emanate from the very rock walls, twisting around him like invisible tendrils. And then he saw it. At the deepest point of the ravine, hidden behind a curtain of moss and hanging roots, was a small, crudely carved altar, not of stone, but of hardened earth, almost like petrified clay, and etched into its surface a swirling symbol, ancient, malignant. And surrounding it, almost flowing from it, were hundreds of small, dried husks. Animal skulls, human bones, not buried, just scattered around the altar. Offerings. This wasn't a natural silence. It was a hungry quiet. A silence demanded by something that resided here. Something that had been fed for centuries. The whispers weren't echoes of the wind. They were the hungry anticipation of the hollow's true voice. Elias stumbled back, scrambling up the ravine. The whispers became a chorus, no longer indistinct. They were forming words now, commands, promises of power, threats of eternal hunger. The altar, it wasn't just a place of sacrifice. It was a conduit, and he had activated it. He ran, tripping over roots, his heart hammering against his ribs. The forest was no longer his sanctuary. It was alive. The trees bent, their branches scratching like skeletal fingers. The ground pulsed beneath his feet, and the whispers, they were in his head now, demanding, insatiable. He could feel it, a cold, consuming presence right behind him. It wasn't just a spirit, it was the hollow itself, an ancient parasitic entity that craved offerings, that fed on fear, and it had chosen him. It wanted his screams, it wanted his soul. He burst out of the tree line towards his cabin, but it wasn't safety. It was just the next stage of the hunt. He could hear it now, a low, guttural chuckle that reverberated through his bones, the sound of something ancient and hungry, finally given voice. What happened next is unclear. Elias Thorne was never seen again. His cabin was found months later by a lone hiker, abandoned, the door ajar, dust thick on every surface, nothing disturbed, nothing broken. except for a single, small notebook placed neatly on his table. Its pages filled with frantic, looping handwriting, detailing his descent into terror. His final entry was a single, chilling word scrawled repeatedly: hunger. The whispering hollow remains, its silence unbroken. Or perhaps its silence is simply a different kind of sound. A sound only those who dare to listen truly hear. They say if you venture too close to that particular ravine, even on the brightest day, you can still feel the profound, unnatural cold. And sometimes, just sometimes, the wind carries a name, drawn out, distorted, a whisper of what once was. And you realize the hollow isn't empty. It's just waiting for its next offering. Thank you for joining us on this chilling journey into the Whispering Hollow. If this tale sent shivers down your spine, like and subscribe to HauntCast Echoes for more terrifying stories from the dark corners of the world. Until next time, stay safe and listen carefully to the silence.